What if the minions served Hitler during World War II?
What if during World War II, the minions picked Hitler as their evil master? Minions are compelled to serve the evilest master they can find, but they were exiled to an ice cave in the Arctic after serving Napoleon. Now, canonically, they reemerge in 1968, conveniently...
Yeah, they do that, conveniently skipping World War I and II. Shocker. Illumination Entertainment. Huh. Why did you skip the 1940s? The minions were just missing during World War II? Huh.
Skipping the 2 world wars. But what if we didn't let them off the hook that easy? What if they reemerged in 1938 instead? How could 3 small minions change the course of history?
No way this guy's going to make an in-depth video about if the minions served Adolf Hitler.
From their...
Who did they serve in 1968 canonically? Who was the evilest person then? Gru? I gotta say that as well. We gotta take everything with a grain of salt. We're gonna lean into the fucking actual historical accuracy of canonical minions. Because, yeah, like, yeah, Pol Pot, Fidel Castro, like, the minions resurfaced in 1968, served a few people, and then went, hey, we're gonna go with Gru. In modern day, but they live on Earth, and they have history. Gru's the most evil guy. Who's the most evil person alive right now? Dude, they'd be serving, like, Kim Jong-un. They'd be serving some fucking dictator that's fucking starving their people. Like, get out of here. They're going to be serving Gru. I'm going to steal the moon. I'm going to steal the moon. Oh, really? That guy's chopping kids' heads off. Stealing the moon, chopping kids' heads off. What? What? I mean, maybe, like, are the minions looking at it at a utilitarian perspective where if Gru shrinks and steals the moon, that stops ocean tides and overall would turn into the, like, fucked rotation of Earth and kill all humans? Like, is he thinking... Are the minions going, like, in depth right now to, like, hey, if Gru steals the moon, the adverse effects of stealing the moon would result in the death of all humans? I feel like that would be, like, maybe where they're going.
Ice cave in the Arctic, the minions trekked south into Soviet territory.
Wait, what?
From their ice cave in the Arctic, the minions trekked south into Soviet territory. In St. Petersburg, they learned of Hitler from a Soviet newsreel while huddled inside a theater for warmth. The film warned of a power-hungry dictator threatening freedom and peace. The perfect traits for an evil master. When they reached Nuremberg, the minions immediately knew they were in the right place. Posters with Hitler's face on it were plastered everywhere. Swastikas were hanging from every building. The streets were packed with cheering Germans. For them? No.
Wouldn't the minions immediately just get clipped and murdered in World War II times? Because the army would just be like, who the fuck? Oh, wait, no, they're immortal. They can't die. They can't die. It's hypothetical? No, because they can't die. Minions canonically, I don't think they reproduce. I think there's like a given number of them, but they're invincible, yeah.
They were in the middle of a military parade. The minions are quickly arrested. While in prison, they caught the attention of Heinrich Himmler. Himmler was the head of the SS and deeply obsessed with the occult. He claimed that the master race came from Atlantis and believed that SS soldiers had reincarnated warrior souls. The minions spent the next 18 months.
He fucking believed that? Heinrich Himmler thought that the soldiers that were serving him had reincarnated souls from Atlantis. Like, I don't know which part of this is historical and which is, like, you know, panning into, we're talking about the minions here.
During Nazi experimentation and torture. After cruelty proved ineffective and vivisection impossible, attempts at communication were made. Picture cards and gestures eventually revealed the minions' mission. Himmler made a phone call. Mein Fuhrer, he said. I believe I have found the origin of the master race. Gain the favor of their emissaries, and the war is won. Hitler is skeptical, but the evidence from the minion torture trials was indisputable. By now, the war was in full swing, and not—
Minion torture trials? What, so they started fucking, like cutting up the minions, and they just had no reaction. I always assumed a minion would be like elastic. Like you could kind of punch a you could grab a minion and squeeze it to like a compressed cube and let go, and it would just like right back to what it looked like prior. Like they can't you can't cut it. Like their skin's impierceable. You could shoot them, nothing would happen. They're kind of like rubber creatures. Put subtitles on. Hard of hearing. Okay, I'll put yes, I will put subtitles on for this video.
Nazi forces had experienced their first major defeat at the Battle of Britain. They had to exploit any possible advantage. And so, the minions became Hitler's constant companions. While living at Hitler's residence...
I mean, honestly, if we're really going into, like, the canonical abilities of minions, if you have the minions on your side, you physically can't lose. Like, you can't stop them. You couldn't stop a minion.
Residents, the minions were subjected to a constant stream of Nazi wartime propaganda, which they understood as movie nights. They'd get fitted for tiny uniforms, and soon literally be marching in lockstep. They deliver speeches at rallies and feel the rush of the loyal, ecstatic crowd's adoration.
I'm gonna say, though, like, aren't the minions more serving of evil masterminds that kind of have, like, idiotic ideas? Like, I'm going to destroy the sun! Not, I want to eradicate an ethnic group of people. You know? Like, I don't think the minions would really get behind the vibe of Adolf Hitler. Just off of my watching of, you know, Despicable Me 1, 2, 3. I don't think that I think they would see what's going on and then go, ugh. I don't know.
They toured the country, accompanying Hitler to demonstrations of the latest...
Stealing the moon was idiotic. Yes. That's like a kid's idea of something that's evil. Like, that's the minions serve childish evil ideas. Like, if you asked a 5-year-old, like, what's something really evil? They'd be like, I'm going to eliminate soda, which would actually probably benefit society, you know? Like, they would say something stupid like that because it's a kid's movie and the minions are dumb, right? The 5-year-old isn't going to be like, well, I would get rid of this group of people.
Wunderwaffen, like Heavy Gustav, the largest gun ever fired, even to this day.
They served Napoleon, true.
It shot shells the weight of 2 pickup trucks at targets over 20 miles away. It was pure catnip for the minions, who were seeing a fully mechanized superweapon for the first time. That night, the minions came to a consensus. They would contact their people and introduce them to their Fuhrer. It was during a demonstration of a futuristic jet fighter that Stuart's eye began to open. Bored with the technical details, he wandered off, away from the spotless showroom full of sycophantic Nazi scientists. He opened a door to the production line and was hit with a wave of hot, acrid air. Rows of haunted eyes looked up at him from dirty, gaunt faces. They were forced laborers, brought in from occupied territory. Stuart's heart plummeted. Was this the fate that awaited his kin? These men weren't minions, they were slaves. German guards descended on them with their cudgels, and Stuart could bear no more. He looked away. The other minions were reluctant to believe what Stuart had seen. Worse, Bob began to defend Hitler's actions. He was young, impressionable, his head full of ideas like patriotism and loyalty. Stuart begged the others to flee with him, but Bob refused, and Kevin wouldn't leave him behind. During a state dinner, Stuart slipped away and hid inside a shipping crate destined for Poland.
I can't believe I'm actually watching this right now. Like, can I say, this is like, I'm trying to get it. I'm really trying to like get my head into this verse right now. But it's like, he's sitting there going, Bob's trying to defend Hitler's ideologies, but Stuart, on the other hand, really just wants him to be a part of the team.
The next few days moved quickly. Kevin and Bob spent their days in Hitler's war room. The Nazis were planning a surprise invasion of the Soviet Union, with a secondary goal of making contact with the minions still waiting in the ice cave. They'd follow German troops as far north as Leningrad, then travel with a specialized detachment equipped to traverse the Arctic expanse. All that was needed was for Kevin to point out the ice cave on the map. He hesitated, just for a moment, but Hitler noticed. Back at Hitler's home, he invited Kevin into his study. He commended Kevin's bravery for going on this mission, which will bring the yellow Wundervolk to the forefront of the Nazi war effort.
And keep in mind, half of this conversation is right. You have Hitler trying to communicate with a fucking minion right now, and he's just going banana as a response.
Unfortunately, he says with sudden menace, Bob will not be joining you. He'll stay here, right by my side. Do you understand? Kevin understood. Bob would serve as collateral to make sure Kevin completed the mission.
Collateral for what? You can't kill Bob. They're invincible. They're like rubber. They have the gum power. You can't fucking hurt them. You can't threaten. What do you mean? What? So he's saying, oh, I'm gonna if you don't complete this mission, Bob's gonna get it. Bob's gonna get what?
Meanwhile, Stuart came out of his crate and into a nightmare. The Warsaw Ghetto saw nearly 500,000 Jews crammed into an area hardly bigger than 1 square mile. Nazis distributed less than 200 calories per day, with the intention of creating mass starvation. Most of the food was smuggled, and this was how Stuart proved his loyalty to the Jewish resistance. When the true purpose of the Nazi resettlement program became clear, the resistance prepared for battle. Soon, Stuart was smuggling more than food. Weapons, fuel, anything that could help the resistance. He became known as the Yellow Golem, after the tireless servant.
He could just kill Hitler! What the fuck are we talking about? This guy made an entire fucking movie. Bro, he's literally right next to him at all times. He could just fucking shoot him. What do you mean? He's like inadvertently he's doing like all smuggling and helping people. Bro, just fucking kill him.
When SS forces entered the ghetto, they were prepared. Victory was impossible, but at least this way they could go out on their own terms. In the ensuing uprising, Stuart led an effort that smuggled dozens of civilians to safety, then threw himself into battle. He burned out a German tank with just gasoline and a cigar. But in the end, the Nazis razed the ghetto to the ground. Stuart was ready to die with his fellow partisans, but at the last possible moment he was smuggled out, and into the hands of American intelligence. Now at Leningrad, long-range air...
The American intelligence chloroformed fucking Stuart. What, and brought him to Alamo to help build the nuclear bomb? Where is this story going? Where's this story going? He's gonna go meet Oppenheimer?
Craft with skis were prepared for their one-way mission. Kevin noticed weapons being loaded, and explosives. It was only then that he began to realize the true extent of his collaboration. And his people, his innocent, naive kin, would pay the price. He thought of Bob and felt a welling of...
Kin? They're their kids? How do they fuck? How does a minion reproduce? It's budding. We had a whole conversation about this the other day. It has to be like budding. How does a minion reproduce? Minions don't reproduce in a normal way. They're essentially immortal beings that evolved from single-cell organisms at the dawn of time, with their numbers remaining relatively consistent through history, though some theories move and movie moments like Stuart turning into a chicken and laying an egg suggest unusual asexual methods of just poofing them into existence. They don't reproduce sexually or asexually. Their numbers don't grow or shrink significantly. Well, they wouldn't grow or shrink at all. They're all male. Well, they don't have penises. Why? If they can't reproduce sexually or asexually, what is the point of them having a sex? They're just minions.
They flew until the plane's tanks were run dry. When they landed, the commandos began to cannibalize the aircraft.
How do they pee? I don't know if they eat, dude. I've only ever seen them eat bananas. I've only ever seen them eat bananas. I don't even know if they eat the bananas. I feel like they just like bananas because they're yellow. I don't like where. I don't know. I need more info about minions before we go further.
The mood was grim. They had no means of return or resupply. They had to rely on the word of a minion that there would be anything at all at the location. Worse yet, a strong headwind meant they landed short. They estimated a 2 weeks trek to the cave. Kevin led them there, hating himself the whole time. He ate his last banana and thought of the absurdity
They eat bananas.
of a tropical fruit in the frozen Arctic. It took even longer than anticipated.
Kevin was pondering the absurdity of a tropical fruit in an Arctic area. Really?
almost 4 weeks in the end. When they arrived, the commandos were half-starved. They were ready to descend on the Minion village and loot it for anything edible, even Minion flesh. In order to prevent mutiny, the commando leader held a gun to his second-in-command and executed him in cold blood. Kevin is sent into the ice cave alone. To be reunited with the others after all he experienced felt joyous at first, but it gave way to a deep gulf of pain and separation. The past few years left him utterly changed compared to the naive minion he was nearly 4 years ago. He took the podium and spoke of what he had
Yeah, how simple life was when they used to just serve a T-Rex.
seen and done. He warned against blind devotion to a charismatic leader, the end result of hate.
And then they all go, ah, papaya, ah, papa boy. They all understand what he's saying.
Then he explained their present situation. He begged for forgiveness and rallied the minions together. When they emerged from the ice cave to greet the Nazis, they were armed. Their resistance was met with machine guns and rifles. It was shaping up to be a massacre, but the minions would no longer bend to tyrants. Suddenly, the commandos noticed a cloud of ice on the horizon, approaching faster than possible. At its center, a yellow speck. It was Stuart, but he was completely transformed. American scientists augmented him in an accelerated version of the Mega Minions program from Despicable Me 4. The order was given to fire.
I haven't seen Despicable Me 4.
But Mega Stuart was there. Bullets bounced off of his rocky yellow hide as he worked himself into a frenzy. The SS commandos could do nothing as Mega Stuart sadistically killed them, the horrors of Warsaw fresh in his mind. The leader took Kevin hostage and revealed the detonator to a bomb. He threatened to collapse the ice cave. They were standing on its roof. Mega Stuart simply reached out his arm.
They can't die! What? Don't step any further. Don't step any further or Bob gets it. Bob gets what?
Ripped the Nazis' mind to shreds.
What?
Mega Stuart simply reached out his arm and ripped the Nazis' mind to shreds. In seconds, he relived every atrocity he ever committed with such intensity his brain cooked like an egg. Several months later, Kevin effectively became the leader of the Minions, and they began construction of an impenetrable ice fortress around the cave. Minions
The Pentagon!
proved to be far more isolationist in this timeline, and the next time they exposed themselves to humanity, they would be prepared. One morning, Kevin walked in on Stuart putting on his super suit. It's time to say goodbye, Stuart
Oh, I thought that was just his. I thought that was just his body.
explained. His American handlers needed his help on the Pacific Front, and he was duty-bound. Years later, Stuart testified at the Nuremberg
I wonder how Stuart's gonna feel about the Vietnam War in the coming years.
trials. They showed all that remained of Hitler's body,
What do you think his response is gonna be there?
just a burnt jawbone found in a bombed-out crater. On the slide, Stuart noticed the remains of a pair of goggles, cracked and blackened by heat. That was all that was left of Bob as well, he realized with mounting horror. Poor Bob, sweet, innocent Bob. It seemed he had stayed by Hitler's side throughout his final days in the Fuhrer bunker, although rumors of a yellow creature spotted in Argentina persisted for decades. The Cold
Bob fled to Argentina to live out Nazi ideologies in a German community in South America.
War began. Stuart played an instrumental role for American intelligence. He worked alongside the supervillain known as the Bald Terror, who would later prove to be the father of one Felonious Gru. Spy satellites revealed a plutonium production complex at the Minion Autonomous Oblast. But all that happened in Minions 2, Cold War. While researching this video, I was actually able to find Bob's goggles on eBay. I bought them, I couldn't resist, and I went and put them on my shelf. I can't wait to see what else goes up here. If you like this, you'll probably like my next video too, which I'm calling I Get $1 Million, but I'm hunted by a genius gorilla for life. I'm trying to make these videos.
I gotta subscribe to Mitchell Sack, bro. This guy is fucking. What video is he making? Oh my god, hunted by gorilla, by genius gorilla for life. He just posted that 2 hours ago. Bro, he only has 3 videos. Oh my god. Thriving internet theory. This one from a goofy idea based on a meme to a genius alternate history thriller. Top 10 debut video. What if Mossad kidnapped Bob from Argentina to go on trial? Must be the sequel to this. The Minions served Pharaoh, Dracula, Napoleon, 3 figures responsible for innumerable deaths and enslavement. They would find absolutely zero issues with Hitler's atrocities. Yeah, I mean, like, aren't they effectively just... I mean, that's if we're going... Like, I'm just basing how I perceive Minions, how they act and how they think off of their interactions with Gru. But if you're going off of the Minion movie and how they... and who they've, you know, like, served previously, they would technically be fine with anything that anyone did. But how do you think they would find the most evil person? After him, it's like, now there's just a handful of people that are like serial killers, dictators. I feel like it has to be in a utilitarian perspective of like, who's doing the most evil worldwide? All right. I gotta piss real quick, then we're gonna...